We often think of asthma as a disease of childhood and young adults. It can be seen in older individuals. In fact, those of us who smoke, not me, those of us who smoke can have asthma and COPD.
很多人以为这个哮喘呢是小孩子的事情，其实呢很多成年人，尤其是吸烟的人，或是你有这个肺阻塞的问题的人，也会常常会有气喘的问题。
So what I'd like to do is take you on a little quick tour of what asthma is all about, how we treat it, and maybe you can leave with a good understanding of this disease, since it can not only affect you, but it can affect your family members, children, and grandchildren.
所以我今天想跟你们介绍一下气喘是什么样情况，怎么样治疗。那除了对你们有用之外呢，说不定你们回去你们得到这些资讯呢，会对你们的家人或是对你们的小孩子有些帮助。
Okay, so I'll start. Well, asthma is a chronic disease, and it inflames the airways. Those are the tubes that carry the air in and out of our lungs.
气喘呢是一种慢性的肺部疾病，那它是影响到我们这个气管啊，这气管是空气进出的地方，在肺里面进出的地方。
Right. And in fact, it's one of the most common chronic diseases among children.
是小孩，是儿童是最常见的一个慢性疾病。
In fact, based on data from the National Lung Survey, over 300 million people suffer from this disease worldwide, and almost 250,000 people died, as this data suggested in the year 2005.
全球呢有差不多3亿人呢都会有气喘的问题啊，然后在2005年呢差不多有超过25万人呢死于气喘啊。
And a majority of these deaths occur in low and lower income countries. In fact, and over 3,500 deaths in that year occurred in the United States.
大部分的80%因为气喘而死的人都发生在这个低收入或是中等收入的国家。那在美国呢，有差不多3500死亡人是因为气喘而死。我们也知道，在中国有很多有名的人也是气喘而死。I just say that in China, several famous people die of asthma.
I have one question. Is Minda saying what I'm saying?
他说我讲的话是他讲的。然后不是的话，你要跟他讲。
I knew you would. So the exact cause of asthma is not known, but a variety of factors that interact with one another early in life result in the development of asthma.
造成气喘的原因呢，并不是很清楚。我们认为可能是在我们这个生命的早期的时候呢，有各式各样的因素互相作用而造成气喘。
So one of the risk factors are parents with asthma. There is a hereditary component. And allergy, it can be an inherited predisposition, as we heard in Dr. Cheng's wonderful talk, and it causes people to develop a particular antibody, IgE, after exposures to environmental allergens.
气喘呢，有的时候是如果你父母有气喘的话，因为气喘跟遗传也是有点关系的所以父母有气喘的话，也比较容易有这个气喘，或者说是有敏感的体质在敏感在这个在过敏的环境中呢，你身体会产生这种特别的蛋白，就是叫做 IgE 这种免疫蛋白。
And in childhood, when they're exposed to respiratory infections, while the immune system is developing, patients can have this higher allergic response and develop asthma.
在那个小孩子的时期呢，如果你呼吸道受到感染，因为在小孩的时候，你的免疫系统正在发育，所以说非常活跃，那这个时候就比较容易就造成这个气喘。
So common symptoms: coughing. Some people cough a lot when they have an asthma attack. They can wheeze. You can hear whistling in the chest. The chest can be very tight because air is not moving easily, and patients often, or almost always, get short of breath.
通常的症状呢，就是说会咳嗽，有的时候气喘的人会一直在咳嗽。那还有就是所谓的 wheezing， 就是你会听到他呼吸有个很大的声音，像是吹口哨那个小吹口哨的声音。 然后或者说你会觉得胸口很闷，或是很多时候都会觉得呼吸很短促，很急促。
So, we have the iceberg. Asthma is the Titanic.
然后说像是一个这个iceberg 就是什么冰块，大冰块是吧？
So,
浮冰块。
So patients often see symptoms, but there's a lot below the surface.
所以我们通常看到那个症状呢，其实在这个等于是这个大浮冰的最上面一小段，下面其实有很多其他的原因。
So patients often have airway inflammation, and I'll show you a little bit about what that is. And that can lead to hyperresponsiveness. What that means is that the airways are very twitchy and irritable and can close down to various stimuli.
通常最基本的原因基本的是因为这个气管道呢开始发炎，那发炎的时候呢，就会造成你这个支气管呢很多高反应，然后它就会变得有很多表面上的改变。
And then ultimately, when the airways squeeze down and close, you can get obstruction to air. The air can't move in and out very well.
当它的表面改变，它就变得越来越窄。那你越来越窄的时候呢，因为它那个表皮就会变厚，或是变样，那这样你的呼吸就会，你的那个空气流动就会不好。
And that's why people experience asthma.
OK， 那因为这样空气流动不顺畅的话，你会听到各式各样的那些症状出来。
So I want to show you a picture of the lungs and the airways that I was talking about.
OK， 它就这个图是告诉你这个我们气管的形状。
Okay, so here are the lungs and here are the airways, and this is a picture that enlarges an airway, and this one is normal.
那个在那个左边呢是一个肺里面有很多支气管，那支气管把它放大看的话，就像是一个水管一样。
And you can see it's wide open, and it's surrounded by muscle.
这个支气管呢是中间是空的，然后旁边呢有很多肌肉，包括的肌肉在。
So when patients have an asthma attack, the airways are very swollen.
当你有这个气喘，就是说有这个敏感的时候呢，那你的那个管道呢就变得很窄，你可以看到旁边这个肌肉就变得很厚啊，所以那管道就变得比较窄。
And the glands in the airways secrete a lot of mucus.
那在那个里面在这个呼吸道里面有很多那个腺体呢，它就会开始分泌很多不同的东西在里头。
And therefore the result is considerable narrowing of the airways and patients wheeze.
所以因为它这样的气管变得比较窄，所以当你呼吸的时候呢，你就会听到好像有那个像是一个像是吹口哨那个声音，就很细的那个哨的声音，就像 I don't know how to say
Whistle.
像吹口哨很细的吹口哨的声音一样。
What she said. Whistle. So we make the diagnosis by taking a good history from the patient. We examine the patients, and then we may do a couple of tests.
我们诊断的方法就是说，先看看他的病历史，然后做一些检查，然后或是做一些试测。
So it should be based on, the diagnosis should be based on the symptoms I mentioned, and evidence of narrowing or obstruction of the airways, and we do that on a test called a pulmonary function test.
我们诊断的方法呢是看的就是说它的症状之外呢，看它的支气管呢是不是有这个紧缩的现象。那这个测验的方法是有一种所谓这个特别的一个呼吸测试剂。
And all of the tests available involve the patient blowing hard into a machine, and we look to see that when we give medicine, that the lungs open up again.
这个测试方法就是让病人他会给你一个东西，让你去呼那个吹那个气出去，然后呢看你气的那个量有多大，然后他会给你药物，看看会不会用这个药物的话会让你的这个出气出的比较好一点。
And patients who have inflamed airways have a very active response, a very high response to things that cause the inflammation.
假如说是这个病人的那个支气管呢有反应的话呢，他会对这个敏感源呢会有很大的反应。
Right. In fact, some patients who have never been allergic to certain things, and all of the things that Dr. Chang spoke about as allergens, can cause an asthma attack in people who ordinarily would not have had a problem.
假如说你的支气管很敏感的话呢，如果说你有敏感源的话，它会马上反应很大，有气喘的人会反应非常大。
So Dr. Chang mentioned all of the allergens, so I'm not going to go into those again. We have plenty of those. Irritants, some things that we didn't talk about include very cold air, very warm, humid air.
OK， 造成气喘的这些敏感源呢，刚刚张医师已经提过。那不过另外有一个就是说是有的时候对我们对空气会造成对这个有气喘的人也会造成一些症状。
Other things are food and medicines, certain medicines if you're allergic, physical activity, right? Patients can have exercise-induced asthma, and often they'll have it after an upper respiratory infection.
所以像除了这个之外，还有像一些食物啊、药物啊，还有一些运动，那他们通常或者说是你有呼吸道有感染的话，也比较容易造成。
There is a difference in ethnic groups on the prevalence of asthma, and there's even a difference between sexes. More females have asthma than males.
那个女性呢得气喘的比率比男性要高，或是有些族裔呢得气喘比率会比别的族裔要高。
So this is just a graph showing the prevalence of asthma distributed by the different ethnic groups. In fact, the highest is in Puerto Rican ethnic group, meaning about 17% of patients are from Puerto Rican descent. About 5% are Asian. And then the rest of the numbers you can see between Mexican, white, American Indian, etc.
所以这个图就是让你看一下，就是说得气喘的这个人呢，他们是在哪个国家出生的国家有关系，在不同的国家呢有不同的比率。在 Puerto Rico 呢，就是波多黎各呢，它的比率就很高。那中国人的话，假如你这么这些病人里面大概5%的病人是亚洲人。
Okay, when you look at the percentage of patients that get asthma during their lifetime, Puerto Rican descent is 22%. Asians have an 8.4% incidence or prevalence of asthma, 8.4% of the patients.
在亚洲人呢8%的人呢，在一生之中大概会有机会得到气喘。
Right. So the point is, it's not that uncommon in individuals of Asian descent.
所以说，并不是说不是，应该说是蛮常见的一个病，差不多8%的人一生中会得到这个气喘。
African Americans have three times more likely to have a fatal asthma attack, and in fact, those of African American descent have almost triple hospitalizations as compared to white individuals.
跟白人比呢，黑人他们因气喘而死的亡率呢是白人的3倍，而且他们也差不多这住院的比率也是比白人要多3倍出。
Also, over the years, asthma rates have been increasing in the United States for all groups, adults, children, males, females, and different races and ethnicities. And from this data in early 2005, it was estimated that the worldwide incidence would increase by over 25%.
在美国呢，这个得气喘的人的比率呢是越来越在增加。那在未来15年呢，他们觉得说，在这个增加的人数会增加到25%，会增加25%。
Sorry. And male and females, males are in the red, females are in the green. I just put up the graph to show that asthma rates are increasing in both groups.
不管是男性或女性呢，这个气喘的人数呢是 有渐渐增加的趋向。
Similar results in children versus adults. It just is increased over that period, noted there.
Yes. 儿童跟成人的气喘比例也是在渐渐增加。
And by ethnicity, certain groups had increasing incidence over this period, particularly African Americans.
不同族裔里面呢，黑人呢，他们的气喘比例也在增加的比较多。
So, a very busy slide. But this has changed how we think about asthma. How we think about asthma has changed over the years. I'll go ahead and do this. Years ago, in the 70s and 80s, when I was training as a resident, it was thought that mostly asthma was due to bronchoconstriction, narrowing of the airways.
我们对于气喘的这个想法呢、看法呢，也慢慢在改变。然后在1980年的时候呢，当初我们只是觉得说气喘是一个这个支气管的一个发炎，然后它的就是变得比较小，气管变得比较小。
Right. And as we learned later on that asthma was due to inflammation or caused by inflammation, medications were prescribed against the inflammation.
因为那时候以为是因这个支气管之所以肿胀，是因为发炎的关系，所以他们开的药呢都是治疗这个发炎的药。
And then as time went on, we realized that if we didn't treat the asthma appropriately, the airways can be scarred. They get to a point where they can't open up again.
后来我们慢慢发现，就是说，如果说我们只去治疗这个发炎，然后这个气管壁呢，如果说是一直在发炎，它会以后久了之后呢，它会变成就会有结疤，然后就以后就不太容易再回到原来的样子。
So asthma can be treated. It can be well controlled in individuals, and our goal as physicians is to get a patient to avoid symptoms, trouble during the night, little need for asthma medications in an emergency, help their lives be physically productive, normal, and maintain the function of their lungs. And we really want to avoid serious flare-ups or exacerbations.
气喘呢是可以有效治疗的。那作为医生呢，他们的目标呢是说，让这个气喘能够得到有比较好的控制，那让病人呢可以在晚上不会受到这个症状的影响，然后尽量可以少用药物，或是可以不用药物，然后这样的话拥有比较好的这个生活的品质，然后也有比较好的正常的肺功能。最重要是要避免这种突发性的这个气喘。
So our goals of asthma treatment are symptom reduction, symptom control, and reduction of the risk of future exacerbations.
所以他治疗的目标呢是说控制这个症状，另外就是减少将来再发的那个风险。
So to do this, we need to have a good partnership between the physician and the patient.
要达到这个目标的话呢，就需要医生跟病人有很好的配合。
The physician, the doctor needs to understand the patient's goals regarding the asthma. There should be good communication to discuss the strategies. And the physician needs to consider what health care is available, the medications, cultural and personal preferences, and understanding of health issues for their patients.
要达到这个目标的话呢，病人跟医生要好好的沟通。那医生要知道病人他自己对自己的气喘的想要控制到什么样的目标。然后呢，医生要知道这个其他的原因，比方说这个医疗系统啊，或者什么药可以用啊，或是文化跟个人的背景，还有就是说其他有关于他其他的生活上有一些问题。
Right. So when we have a patient with asthma, we decide if they're uncontrolled. We adjust or start therapy to get them controlled. And then there's a group that's hard to control.
所以如果气喘的话呢，当然第一步就是说希望能够控制这个症状或者控制这气喘。如果不能控制的话呢，我们希望做一些治疗，让它能够被控制。那当然有一小部分是很难控制，有一小部分的病人是症状是很难控制的。
So how do the doctors decide that a patient is controlled?
所以医生怎么来决定说这个病人的症状是可以控制呢
So we like to ask, are you having a lot of asthma symptoms in the daytime? Do you wake up at night with asthma? And do you need to use the inhaler we give you several times?
他就会问病人说：“你的白天有什么症状？晚上有什么样的情况？能不能睡觉？或是你需不需要用这个喷雾器？”
And then we'll see did the patient miss work or school? How functional they are they satisfied with what is being administered to them? How much they utilize the healthcare resources? And that can give us an idea of any of those plus others of how well controlled the patient is.
他也会问病人看看在工作上或者学业上有没有什么问题啊，能不能做事，或者他工作情况如何？然后还有就是说他的那个医疗的那个资源什么样子？那这样的话呢，医生才能够做最好的决定，怎么样来治疗这个病人。
So it can't be cured, but we can control it with medications, which are most often inhalers. We have ones that work in the long term. We have ones that are quick relief medications, a spray that we use as a rescue when a patient has an attack. And we need to have the patient recognize what triggers their asthma. Everybody's different.
所以哮喘虽然不能够治愈，可是可以控制。那大部分都是用这个喷雾剂。那这喷雾剂有分成一种长期使用的，跟一种是说马上迅速能够就是说短期之间用的。那每个人都应该知道说它造成气喘的原因，因为每个人造成气喘的原因不一样。
So I'll mention some of the inhalers. It'll be easier when I show a picture.
他会给你看一下一些不同的这个喷雾剂的样子。
So we have most commonly short-acting drugs. They're called short-acting beta agonists, and they quickly open the airways.
一种是在短效性的，就是说它马上喷下去，马上可以把你那个气管可以让它打开，就是说本来是很缩的很小，可以马上打开。
We'll sometimes use, if it's severe, we'll use corticosteroids either by mouth or intravenously, but more commonly we'll use it in an inhaler to try and get it into the lungs without trouble.
如果比较严重的话，他会用这口服的或是那个注射性的那个类固醇。
And of course, patients need to avoid the triggers. If you think cold air triggers your asthma, try not to go out that often in the winter. If you have an allergy to peanuts, stay away from the peanuts.
最重要就是说要避免这个接触你的这个造成气喘的原因。如果说是因为空气冷的话会造成气喘的话，就在冬天就尽量不要出去。如果说你对花生有敏感的话，就尽量不要吃花生。
So this is the typical inhaler. Some of you may be on it. It has the medicine in a canister.
这是你们大家常见的这个喷雾机。
And when the patient presses the canister, the medicine comes out in a mist.
然后你压下去，它那个药罐的话，那个气就会那个喷雾就会喷出来。
And patients need to learn how to use the inhaler correctly. The doctor needs to teach.
病人需要知道怎么样正确用这个喷雾剂，然后医生会应该教你们怎么样用。
And for those of you that are on inhalers already, I usually tell a patient to take a deep breath and empty their lungs, and then get ready, take a puff, and inhale.
正常的正确的方法就是说，你先做个深呼吸，然后把它全部的气吸出去，呼出去之后呢，然后把那个喷雾剂对到你的嘴巴，然后马上尽快的再呼一口气，把那个喷雾器吸进去。
So if you're not doing it that way, you're doing it wrong.
如果你没有这样做的话，你可能做的不对，就没有真的把那个喷雾器吸到你的肺里头去。
Okay. Some people go and then try to take more, and all they can do is.
有的人先吸了气，然后再想再喷，那你就没办法吸进去了。
How do you take yours?
I might make mistake of this.
You might make mistakes.
Yes,
Maybe we can show you later.
Right, we'll show you later.
如果说你们不知道怎么用的话，你们真的可以跟那个Dr. Smith 来问，看看是不是用的对。
But point made. So they come in many colors. They come in many types. Okay, you've probably seen some of these on TV.
它有不同的喷雾剂，有不同的颜色，不同的样子。
These are the most common short-acting ones, and in particular, ProAir is what many people have. You have ProAir.
中间那个红色是很多人比较就是很普遍的，是短效型的。
Right. And then we have some that are long-acting for people who have symptoms throughout the day. They last about 12 hours, so we try to keep their breathing, their bronchial tubes open.
另外一种是长期性的，就是说，有的人他症状很久了，很长，所以他就一天这个喷一次可以就12个钟头。
And when asthma is more severe, we'll give a steroid, cortisone to inhale.
如果说是气喘很严重的话呢，医生就会给你这个类固醇。
And that's all designed to reduce the inflammation.
全部的这个药的原因就是它的作用呢，都是减少你的发炎，就是你的那个气管的发炎。
Right. Sometimes we give both. And these medications, Advair you've probably seen on TV, Symbicort you see the commercials, but they're designed to deliver the cortisone to reduce the inflammation and the bronchial dilator to open up the lungs.
很多的药是一起用，那一个就是说让你的那个管壁的发炎可以降低，那另外一个药就是让它的管壁可以扩张。
So I already mentioned the inhaled steroids. We sometimes can use a pill, more often one called Singulair, which can help reduce the inflammation.
有的时候也可以用这个口服药剂来降低这个症状。
So I just put this up here to kind of give you an idea of how doctors judge the severity of asthma in an individual.
我只是把这张图让你看，就是说医生是怎么样来区分你的症状是严重还是什么样情况，或者轻度，或是或是比较重型的。
Right. So in step 1, patients have very few symptoms. They may have it less than 2 times a week. They don't wake up at night very frequently, and they maintain normal lung functions. Those are the tests we talk about. No need to go into those further.
假如说是症状很少，少于2就多，每一次症状是超过2个星期才会有症状，或者超过2个月晚上才会有症状，或者他的那个肺功能是超过80%的话，我们算是第一期的。
And so this step, since it's very mild, we can just give you a short-acting inhaler.
假如说是非常轻度的话呢，可能就医生会给你一个做短效性的这个喷雾剂。
And as it gets more severe, the symptoms are more frequent, and the lung function declines.
那慢慢的越来越严重的话呢，你的症状会就比较频繁，然后你的肺功能也会慢慢降低。
So then we'll add an inhaled steroid to reduce inflammation, a long-acting bronchodilator to make the patient feel better, and all the way up as it gets more and more severe, we may even start cortisone by mouth.
如果说是比较严重的话，比较轻这个第2级、第3级的话呢，医生可能会给你2个药，一个是就是说是类固醇，然后降低你的管壁支气管壁发炎同时呢给你这个另外的喷雾剂，让你的这个支气管可以扩张。那如果说再严重的话，他们可能会给你口服的这个类固醇。
And our main goal is to get everybody back here.
我们的目标是让那个病人能够降到第1级。
So this is basically what I mentioned. I'm not going to go through it in detail.
这张图就是刚刚他已经提过，所以他不需要再仔细讲。
Right. But you can see from here, as asthma gets worse, we add on medications. We treat patients for 2 or 3 months with an individual group of medications, and after that, if the patient's stable, we start backing down.
所以说，如果说是在不同期的话，我们用不同的药。那每一个药的话呢，它大概会用个2个月。如果说这个症状降低的话，它就会再把这个药量的就是比方说你第3级的药用了2个月，你情况改变，它会把你改成用2级的药，就第2级的药。如果症状有增加的话，就要换成另外一种药。
The writing gets the point across, Minda. That's okay. So what does a doctor do? We check for the symptoms. We see how often a patient has exacerbations, right? All the things I mentioned to talk about control, and then we assess them. We look at their control and risk factors, and then we adjust the treatment in between all of the steps, from mild to severe, severe back to mild.
所以医生呢对于病人的做法就是说，先是看他的他的症状，他的这些有什么副作用啊，还有它的功能啊，然后来做诊断，它到底是应该是什么样的这个情况，它的这个风险啊，还有他的那个病人的偏好啊，或者用他用药的方法，然后再来决定他的用的药。那这个可是用完药之后呢，要看再过一阵子再来重新再这个重复这个诊断的方法。
Are we doing our time?
Yeah. Okay.
So it wouldn't be right to mention medications without talking about side effects, so you know what can happen.
当我们讲到药物的话，我们一定会有它的这个所谓的副作用。
Okay, so the pumps, the short-acting bronchodilators, can increase your heart rate, make you shaky, and sometimes give a headache.
那个短效性的这个喷雾剂的话，会让你增加你的心跳，还有的时候会让你这个有头痛，或是说是颤抖。
The asthma pill I talked about is associated with gastric upset. And inhaled corticosteroids, right, for the inflammation, can cause a yeast infection in the mouth. Am I getting too much for it?
That's okay.
Can cause you to become hoarse in voice. And when you take them in very high doses, it can affect your system in general. You could have problems with your adrenal glands.
口服的药呢，会有时候会让你肠胃不舒服。那个类固醇的药的话呢，会有时候会让你这个口齿不清啊，或者说是那个口里面有长疮啊。然后说高剂量的话，可能会对你全身都会有影响。
And then when we put you on oral steroids, you can have an increased appetite, the munchies, right? And you can get stomach aches, mood changes, but more importantly, fluid retention, swelling of the legs, diabetes, and thinning of the bones, osteoporosis.
如果你只有口服的那个类固醇的话，那它的那个副作用就会让你食欲增加，可是呢会让你这个有胃痛啊，或是水肿啊，或是骨质疏松其他的问题。
But these medications are very important because we need to make sure a patient breathes correctly.
但是虽然有这些副作用，这些药还是非常重要，因为要让你的呼吸能够正常。
Okay, I already mentioned the physician-patient partnership. It's good to develop a written plan so patients know what to do should their symptoms increase or decrease.
我们刚刚已经谈过，就是医生跟病人的合作啊，所以最好是能够写下来啊，然后这样子的话，病人才知道说有什么症状的时候应该怎么做，然后症状是增加还是减轻。
So what I want to end on is these newer medications. We've come out with medications that patients can get in a doctor's office, but they get an injection. And it's good for severe asthma, particularly if a patient has a very severe allergy.
我想跟大家谈一下这个新的药物。这新的药物呢是一定要在医生那边做哈。最重要是这些药物呢是给这个比较严重的病人用的。
And in patients that just don't respond to anything we do.
或是这个病人呢，他们试了各式各样的药都没有什么反应，都没有什么好的结果，那就是这个一个新的生物药物现在在进行当中。
Now, I put up a confusing slide, and if it's confusing to you, it's just as confusing to me.
对，这张这个幻灯片呢是非常的复杂，他说对他讲的也是很复杂的。
But let me take you through it because this is how the injectable agents work.
可是我要跟你解释一下，因为这个是注射剂的功用的方法。
Okay. All of these chemicals are designed to cause airway inflammation in the different cells of the lung.
在肺的细胞呢，当你受到刺激的时候呢，你会产生很多不同的这个化学。
So this is the main asthma cell, the eosinophil. It's a white blood cell that causes a lot of the airway inflammation. A lot of these chemicals work on the mucus glands in the airway, making a lot of sputum.
它这个细胞呢，一个特别的细胞，就是在敏感反应的时候呢，它受到刺激的时候，它会产生很多这个不同的这个化学剂，那这些剂呢会让你产生会让其他的细胞呢产生很多这个粘液出来。
And the end result is fibrosis and scarring of the airways, which we don't want to happen. And all of this happens by the chemicals, or due to the chemicals, these proteins in the blood.
那这个长期这样的话，就会造成这个支气管细胞的一个这个增厚，还有就是它的结疤。那造成这些原因呢，其实是你身体里面自己的化学品。
Okay, confused? I have to, we know it. We
能了解吗？
No? Yes? Yes, right? It's difficult, I know. It's I don't memorize this.
没有人记得这些全部的东西。
So it makes sense for science to develop medications that can interfere with this.
所以科学家呢就想说，怎么样能够做一个药呢，能够让这个流程呢能够这个怎么讲，这个改变呢能够停止住，就是说我们不要产生这些化学品在我们身体里头。
So this is even more confusing, but it shows where the drugs work. Okay, so here is 2 drugs I'm going to just mention: mepolizumab, breslizumab, and this cell is bothered by IgE, an antibody that I mentioned, and we have a drug called omalizumab or Xolair. Some of you may even be on Xolair that we use.
OK， 那这个图片是告诉你这个药怎么样工作的。因为我们刚刚讲过，我们身体里面会产生一些，当你受到这个刺激的时候，你会产生一些特别的那个敏感蛋白。那蛋白如果说连到你身体特别一种细胞的话呢，就会产生刚刚我们讲的很多化学品。那所以现在这个药呢，这个药就是说可以让你阻止你身体这个敏感蛋白跟你的细胞的接触。
So omalizumab's been around for a long time. What it actually is we make antibodies, right? We engineer antibodies artificially that are that work against the IgE asthma antibody.
所以这个药呢，就是说我们用人工去制造一个很类似这个人体蛋白这种特别的，我们刚才讲那个免疫蛋白，所以它就会这个去防止这个你天然的免疫蛋白的这个免疫蛋白功能。
And patients need to have evidence of seasonal allergies, like Dr. Chang spoke about.
这是一般是用在病人他有就是季节性的敏感。
Right. In fact, this drug does work for seasonal allergies that are very severe. But they've been shown to reduce the need for steroids, and patients were less likely to suffer a severe exacerbation of asthma.
这个药呢，对于这个季节性的敏感呢是非常有效。那也有证明说是可以降低你不要用病人不需要用类固醇。
But it requires usually 2 shots in the arm twice a month.
可是这个需要是每1个月呢要注射2次，在你的手臂上注射2次。
And then patients need to be watched for a time in the doctor's office so they don't get anaphylaxis.
可在注射的时候呢，必须在医院在医生那边注射，因为要看万一你产生所谓的这个急性的敏感反应。
This is a whole list of drugs. The only other 2 we have available are the second 2, but it's a similar idea.
那现在有好几种药那比较常用前面几个药它的功能都差不多。
And fortunately now we have the ability to administer these drugs in the infusion center at New York Presbyterian Queens.
我们医院呢最近有一个这个infusion center。
Okay.
It's
an outpatient antibiotic.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about Chinese. 就是这个就是注射，可是是用这个 就静脉注射的那个设施，我们现在最新刚刚开始这个病房，专门可以在医院里头做这种静脉注射。
So your doctor or your lung doctor can refer you there, particularly if you have severe asthma that's not responding to other medications.
如果你的敏感或是你的气喘很严重的话，需要做这种治疗的话，你可以到我们医院来，那我们医院可以帮你做这种治疗。
It's not really a commercial announcement.
我们不是在做广告。